to hear from people who only want to deal with facts. It's time for you to re-engage in America. It's time for Dan and Darrell.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Well, after good afternoon, sir. How you doing?
Good afternoon. Depending on where you are in the country, I guess. Welcome to Black and Whites. And today we're going to talk about a couple of things. First of all, we want to talk about what's going on with the Afghanistan debacle and the fact that the president's polling data is putting him very close to Jimmy Carter. And I find that it's like the wheels came off, but all four wheels came off at the same time in the last 2 weeks for Joe Biden. He's got a problem in Afghanistan because he left. Nobody really knows for sure how many Americans he has left behind, and how many people who worked from Afghanistan who worked closely with Americans providing intelligence that are still there, subject to being murdered by the Taliban. We're sending aircraft full of people who we have no identification on at all, and they're bringing him and they're taking possibly Taliban operatives out and bringing them into our country and giving them hundreds of thousands of dollars of support as they're dispersed throughout various communities. They're not giving them shots. They're not giving them the COVID-19 shots. They're just bringing them, processing, and turning them loose. In addition, the private sector, which has got retired military under contracts from private organizations to rescue families and people from inside the country, to keep them from being killed, are now told by the State Department, and it's an important point, Darrell, State Department, not the Defense Department, the State Department, that they can't land the aircraft at any U.S. bases in the Middle East. And so, into the United States, supposedly. And you and I talked about this, that the conventional wisdom is that the Defense Department was in charge of the withdrawal, when in fact it's not true. The Defense Department was not in charge. The State Department was in charge of the withdrawal and the process and the procedures. And they're coming under criticism for their inability to act responsibly and have any kind of a strategy or a plan. So the military is getting off the hook a little bit, but I don't think that this issue of what we did in Afghanistan, no matter how much Biden and the mainstream media trying to deflect to global warming and all the other things because of the hurricanes and the floods, that America is forgetting about what happened in Afghanistan when soldiers died and people were stranded. I think this is only going to grow in momentum. I think the most important open issue, Darrell, is a transcript of the conversation between Joe Biden and the then president of Afghanistan, who later left with $126 million in cash. And the Biden administration doesn't seem to want to release the transcript of the phone call. Yet when Donald Trump had a phone call, there were hundreds of people on the phone call, and it got everywhere, and that was the basis for an impeachment of Donald Trump. Failed, but that was the basis. So is it that the Democrats don't want the letter to be, or the transcript to be released because it would be damaging to Joe Biden? What do you think, Darrell?
Well, let's begin. We got issues. Is that a nice way to start? We have issues. We have a president of the United States who's not a patriot. We have a president of the United States who was supposedly in the military. He probably lost all his military decorum and most likely lost his love for his country. We have a president of the United States that I hope he can find the bathroom, to be honest. Um, I mean, when you talk about the phone call he had with the then president of Afghanistan and the $100 million, hey, it's like the Democrats say, it's okay. You got to do it the Italian way, It's okay. It's okay. I mean, you got to pay the man off to get the country back. Hey, you got to give him a little of this, a little of that. Um, when you think about the State Department running an escape route for us Americans, you might as well go get some school bus drivers, line them up, and tell them, guess what, guys? You're going to save the school without the police there, without the fire department there, without the FBI there, without a couple of ambulances there. In other words, I'm comparing the State Department to a school's transportation system. It ain't going to work. It's not going to work one bit. Honestly, it should have been on a directive of the Defense Department, who would have laid down cover fire, who would have secured a perimeter, be it the city or half the city, who would have laid a warning down that would have said, do not mess with America. Like when we dropped the MOB, mother of all bombs, no one touched an American after that. But we got Joe Biden in office. And Joe, if you ain't black, you didn't vote for Joe. So you got to vote for Joe if you're black. You got to do it, guys. Because Joe is going to save you. When I look at this country right now, honestly, I don't see what us veterans could ever, what can you feel? Other than disgust. Your patriotic duty to support and defend this nation is thrown away. Your ideology of protecting the American citizen is tossed aside. Joe Biden, our leader, commander-in-chief, figurehead for the United States military, the leader of the Defense Department himself, can't do anything correct. But it was those beautiful people out there that voted for him. They supported Joe. They want Joe to save us. He is your God. Your God failed us. Your God is not a God. It's a feeble attempt at being a human. And then you got your vice president, who's the laughingstock whorewench of the century. Oh yeah, we heard the stories out of Howard University. We heard the stories out of California. We heard the stories about her travels. You know what I mean? And these are viable stories coming from viable people, So, y'all took the word of those ladies about Bill Cosby. So why can't we take the stories that come about Harris? The other side is, neither one of them have any idea or recognition of what foreign policy truly is. Neither one of them know how to command. Neither one know how to represent America. Because you were in the military does not mean you can represent. Sorry, Joe. You should have stayed a hostage. Dan?
I want to pick something up out of what you said and run with it a little bit. And it's something that's bothered me for a long time. I served in the military. I consider myself a patriotic American. But I still have significant problems with people who hate this country so much they stay here. Why don't they go someplace else? I have a hard time understanding, Darrell, how you hate your country and stay there and enjoy the benefits of that country that you hate. How do you do that? How does a person tear down America, and yet they're still there, feeding at the trough, taking advantage of the opportunity in America to grow their wealth, their income, and their prestige and power, yet they hate the country. I've never been able to process that concept of hating America. And if you do, why do you stay? Because you have not been able to change it so far. I wonder what makes them think they can do it sometime in the future. Many people have tried over generations, but he's failed. Socialism has never worked anywhere in the world, yet the left seems to think that they can do it where nobody else has succeeded. But they have to do it by destroying the country. I never said America was perfect. I never said that all of our presidents were perfect, or all of our senators or congressmen or mayors or governors, or all those people were perfect. We obviously seen that as to how many of these people have handled the responsibilities of protecting America with the pandemic. But in reality, I still have a problem understanding why people openly hate this country. Can you help me, Darrell?
My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty. Oh,
Of the I
thee
sing.
I sing, land where my father died. Oh, land of the pilgrim's pride. Whew. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And you people out there that claim to be Americans don't even understand the first verse. And this is the answer to your question. I think that first verse answers it. I mean, patriotism is of the heart. Love of country is of the heart. When us older people grew up, we had love for our country, love for our fellow man, love, love, love. I mean, yes, there were things that went on underneath the scope. Yes, there were wrongs. But is anybody perfect? I mean, if you want to go Christian, I hate to say this, but if you think you're perfect, you might as well pick up that stone and start throwing it. I don't think a single one of you people out there are perfect. Neither is our country that we are in. And if you're listening across the pond, the country you're listening to. But here's the statement for you. If you don't like it, you claim you're going to leave Oprah, several others. You claim you're going to leave. Would you please get the hell out my country? Please? I want your influence out. I want your money out of my country. You're not a patriot. You didn't celebrate. You didn't help. From the stories I've heard, most of y'all are, Hollywood anyway. Yeah, I said Hollywood. Pretend people. Not real. I got to give money away so I don't get taxed type people. I'm talking about us red-blooded, loving the country, touching the soil Americans. I mean,
Yep.
People do not get it. That it's not the cabinets out there that are special. Excuse me. Let me grab that SOB in the middle of the street and me and him slam it down one time. I bet you I whipped that candy butt. I'm being nice.
Mm-hmm.
He's a paid player. He's an actor. Do you think every sports event, you know why they got gambling odds on it? Hell, we've been proven already that boxing is a, hey, you get an extra $20,000, $200,000, $20,000, $50,000 if you take this fall. You think football ain't the same? You think basketball ain't the same? You think players don't get paid to take a fall? Yeah, You know what they call? I call them paid hoes. Every single one that's in the leagues and doing what they do. Prove me wrong. Show me that you are not only an American, but a humanitarian and a player of the sport. Hell, most of them take their money and go offshore anyway. Well, if you're going offshore, well, look, just stay. Go. I don't want your money here in my country anyway. And who elected you? In fact, after our conversation yesterday, we got a show that's coming up Friday, with Stacey Washington. She said we need to start at ground level when it comes to patriotism, choosing our politicians who represent us. Hold on, let's try this again. Politician representing us. Who do you have in office right now that represents you? Oh,
nobody can really answer that question. They can hear that people that say they represent us, but they don't. And some of the leaders on both parties, Congress and House, are that ilk. I want to move on a little because we don't have a lot of time left, but I want to stay where we are, but I want to ask a different question. Last Friday, the FDA and the CDC said to the administration they would prefer that they not launch the booster shot yet because they don't have enough data, scientific evidence to prove that it's the right thing to do. Now, that didn't get a lot of play. I can't tell you the number of people, when I told them this, they said, I didn't see that anywhere. And I said, are you surprised you didn't see it anywhere? You think the mainstream media wants to have the CDC and the FDA questioning the validity of the booster shot, at least for now? So when I put out a little note to a lot of people where that was an article, they all came back to me, I can't believe that. Why I didn't hear about it one stitch on any of the major news networks about this. We've got a situation, Darrell, where we were originally told that the COVID vaccine was going to protect us, keep us safe. And then what happened was the FDA started testing people post their shots, and they said about 8 months out, the effectiveness of the shot had declined by a third, 30%. And so they were saying, we want to consider a booster 8 months after your last shot. Within 2 weeks, they revised that and said, we think it probably ought to be 6 months after your shot. And now they're saying, well, we're not sure how effective or safe the booster shot would be. So America, again, is jerked around, made to be afraid of the virus. Now, I watch, I don't watch a lot of television because I don't really have a lot of time. And I used to be an avid listener to Fox News, and now I have to pick it up. Most of it's streaming, but the last couple of days I finished the second novel, and now I've got a little time on my hands, and I started watching Laura again. And she had a segment last night where she showed photographs of college football games with hundreds of thousands of people, young people in the stands. And you could tell by the way they were reacting. They were excited to be at a football game with their friends out in the open and could care less about COVID-19. And the Dr. Fauci, I guess, was quite upset that it was taking place all over the country. And this Saturday, even more teams are going to be playing in stadiums outside with hundreds of thousands of people in the stadium. And she said, I think America has finally gotten tired of the rhetoric on COVID-19. And if you look, I went on last night, Darrell, and you can go to the CDC website and you can track what's happening with hospitalizations and death rates. In both cases, they've turned down. So this whole idea of what we're doing in terms of the COVID-19, America has really reached a point where they don't want to deal with it the way the government wants us to deal with it, under fear. And so I think that this is going to be an increasing issue through the fall campaign for the primary election. So what are your thoughts?
Well, we're lied to on a daily basis in this administration about, variants and everything else. I mean, what should surprise us? Now we're getting news that won't be reported because they don't want to strike fear. They don't want to strike public interest in getting knowledge. Well, right now, in 49 states, as of today, the Mu variant, which, hold on, let me tell you, vaccine doesn't work. Oh, yeah, it's in the article.
Remind our audience it's called MU.
Yeah,
it started in, I think, Central America. Now it's in 40 countries, and it's in the United States. So,
yeah, 49 states have it. And it's like, for all you kids that like Pokemon, Mew, the cat, Mew. Well, this one is just as powerful. So Delta, Lambda, and Mu are all running around in the United States. When is our president going to use a little bit of IQ level intelligence and say, you know something, let's try this. It's just entering in. It's not, ingrained in yet. Let's shut it down for a bit.
Shut what down?
Shut the country down.
Again?
Hell yeah. You know something? Listen, and maybe we get the right stimulus this time. The socialists say that, we deserve 2,000 when we were spending trillions. Which means every working American in this country could have gotten, maybe 10 to 20,000 each. But no, we got a president that ain't gonna do that either. It's kind of scary. Shut it down. Get the liars out of office. Ruin the numbers for Biden. Let's have let's get us a real president in office. Let's get rid of these representatives and these state governors, and also let's get rid of these congressmen that we have. The senators too. We got someone there we need to get rid of. My whole emphasis. Oh, and let's correct the school boards. I'm like you parents out there. Let's get rid of this critical race theory crap, and let's protect our children. I suggest people bring your kids home. We don't know what's going on. Look, what do you do when you don't have an answer? When it comes to your children, should I send Johnny to the store to go get some popsicles? He's 8 years old. He can walk there by himself, He's got a little pack of friends with him. Send him to the store, but there's gunfire going on. Are you going to tell Johnny to go to the store? Well, you got gunfire going on in schools right now called COVID-19. Send the kids home. Look, the whole way to get rid of the fear is to do, I hate to say, a reset. Let's reset everything. Get rid of those phony members in Congress. Get rid of those phony people in the CDC. Get rid of the phony WHO. Bring our people back from Afghanistan. Get some real people that really know their job, that care about people in this country. Let's do an American reset. Let's shut the borders down, by the way, since you're bringing Afghanistanians in here without shots, but you're telling the people from Latin America they have to have one to come across the border. And even then, you're sending them back. Let's do a reset. Because, you know, I think we're all getting screwed. The system is not, it's almost like the more conflict we have in-house, the more China on the outside is going to be able to do. I.e., well, Taliban already said China is supporting them. How many other countries is China supporting or got their paws into? Let's start with it. Australia, New Zealand, India. Shall we continue? I bet you there's a lot more.
Yeah. You know, that's an interesting, we only got a couple of minutes left, but I want to take advantage of that opportunity you threw at me. I'm a student of history. I'll prefer American history, but I read about other histories of other countries. And I look at what's happened in Afghanistan, going all the way back to the French. And I looked at all of the imperial nations who have tried to come in and control the Afghan people. We're the last in a long line of people who didn't succeed. And we spent a lot of money, trillions of dollars. Now it appears that the Chinese have taken over the leadership responsibility, but I suspect it'll turn out the same way that it's turned out before. The Taliban and the rebels will drain China of money and resources, and they're going to get bogged down. They want the natural resources. They want the access to the opioids, but I suspect that it may not work for them. And it may, in fact, be the ultimate downfall of China. You mentioned how many places they're involved, spreading money around. That may come to an end when they realize how much money they're obligated to pay versus what they have. So I think there's going to be an opportunity to put China in a distracted mode, trying to figure out what to do with this new relationship they have with the Afghan government, such as it is. And they may be surprised that the Afghan government and the Afghan people may turn on China, just like they did on everybody else. I'm sorry to say that we're just about out of time. We got 1 minute for one last comment from.
Well, Dan, you know, my only statement is God bless America. Put it in your heart. God bless your family who are sitting here in America. And God bless yourself. And God bless God. Because without God, we're nothing.
Okay. Thanks for joining us today on the old school edition of Black and White. You can go to the website, blacksandwhites.us, and listen to this show and others. And we'll see you real soon.